Hey, hey! Hey!
It's a
Now the
star
party
show.
can start.
Oh no, don't run. Come back.
Run away! Run away!
Please come back. Please come back. Jeez.
Oh, she's back.
We can't hear you, Hannah, for some reason.
Okay.
Aha!
There we go.
Yes.
All right.
See how without audio it might have looked like I was running away.
It did. Yeah, I pretty much.
Oh, quick question. How do we do a webcast?
Might be too late to ask that question.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Happy time zone. Thank you for joining us today in the Hacking Packet Captures webcast. So we like to say happy time zone because we never know what time zone it is where you guys are. I know for most of us, it's like 1:30 in the afternoon, but for some of you, it's the middle of the morning. For some of you, it's the middle of the night. So if you are on Discord with us, we'd love to hear where you are and what time it is there. This is what we like to call pre-show banter. The actual webcast will begin in about 10 minutes. Until then, you can hang out with us, listen to us chat about very random things. If you want to chat with us during the webcast, you can head over to our Discord server. We shared the link for you guys inside the GoToWebinar chat. And right now we are in the live webcast chat channel. Directly below that is the ACM webcast content channel where you can find the slide deck for today.
I thought this was the webcast. This is all I have planned.
Yep. Awesome.
Actually, people have been waiting for a pre-show banter only webcast for a while, so I don't think we'd have any upset people about that.
Well, you'll get what you asked for in October.
Yes, the 24-hour
Pre-Banter-a-thon is coming.
pre-banter, yeah.
Right.
Wow. Are we raising money for something?
We are. Don't know if it's one specific fundraiser thing, but it is a fundraiser effort to raise money for. Jason knows
Various
more details because
open source tools.
he's running the thing. He's organizing the thing. But if you want to participate, contact Jason because we're going to have 24 hours of content to fill.
24
Yes.
hours of pre-show banter. This is
24
basically
hours.
like the technical equivalent of a filibuster.
I thought we were raising money to get Bill to take a Windows class.
Oh, no. It's never going to happen.
You want to hear swearing?
Everyone has a price.
But Bill, it's kind of like
Yes,
Linux
yes.
now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Linux now.
Chris, that button is just not going to work anymore. There was a point in time where you could get me going on a 2-hour rant, and I'm seeing why you're
easily.
doing it now. So that we have just down to 22 hours that need to be covered in our fundraiser. So, Bill, what do you think of Windows Packet Capture? Oh, are you kidding me? Let me tell you all about it.
Yeah. Just click the paperclip.
Yes. Click the paperclip.
What can I capture for you today?
Yes, and Smithereens is right. The 24-hour pre-show banter-a-thon is going to be partnered with the organization he shared the Twitter link to, and they're donating to different open source tool funds. So this is going to be something that's put on by Jason Blanchard or Banjo Crashland and the Black Hills team. But you will also see our faces on there at some point during those 24 hours, along with some of the Wild West team. And we got a bunch of fun things planned. But if you have any ideas of stuff you really wanted to see us do, just let us know. I know one of the requests that we've gotten is having the active countermeasures team face up against the Black Hills team in a backdoors and breaches competition. So we'll see if that becomes part of the 24-hour marathon.
Oh, first I heard that. That sounds cool.
Very nice.
I know that the pre-show, the 24-hour pre-show banter thing, I'll definitely be involved because I'm just a babbling idiot, so I fit in perfect with that.
Excellent. We need babbling idiots.
Ryan, can you describe what porchetta is?
I believe.
Is it? Sorry, go ahead.
Porchetta Industries?
Yeah. I believe this is a thing that Marcello is spearheading.
Yep.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's his
You're right.
his
Yeah, he
open
started-
source program. It's his program to help fund open source tools in the cybersecurity industry, because these tools, many of them are used by very big organizations, and they don't pay anything to the developers or the caretakers of these tools, and a lot of them take a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? They take a lot of care, because I can't think of what else I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, maintenance.
It's a lot of hours, it's a lot of work. And so how do you keep the developers of these tools involved? How do you make it worth their time? This is one way that Marcello has come up with, and so we're going to support that, and
That's great.
hopefully drive others to support that too.
That's wonderful.
And the name, that porchetta, isn't that like some kind of meat or cheese or something? Or am I thinking of something else? It's like an Italian.
It's Italian. I don't know what it means.
I don't know.
It means Keith is always thinking of meat and cheese.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah. Or ice cream. Maybe it's Italian ice cream. It's got like pistachio.
That's gelato.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
No monitor is correct. Prosciutto was what I was thinking of. It turns out that porchetta is a suckling pig that's been boned, seasoned with garlic and herbs, and roasted, typically sliced and served as a filling in sandwiches. And I think it'd be a big sandwich if you took 2 slices of bread and put it up above and below a suckling pig. But hey, whatever you like.
Could you please stop saying suckling?
I would be glad to.
It's making me feel weird.
Is that troubling you, Keith? Is that disturbing your world?
Oh man, that sounds yummy, and then suckling. It's like, I don't think I want that part.
All right, we'll pass on that thing.
Can you trim around the suckling part?
You keep saying it. You hate it, but you keep saying it.
I know.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
Right.
minutes ago.
I'm glad you saw the irony there.
All right, Hannah, are you ready to take it away?
Yeah, let him do it.
I don't have a choice now, do I? All right.
Oh, you do.
My entire screen now, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Hannah.
Yep, we've got the slides, and feel free to either keep your camera on or shut it off. Totally up to you.
Thank you all for coming. I'm super excited. Today's webcast is called Hacking Packet Captures. So if you get out of here not knowing how to capture packets or not knowing how to look at them, I've epically failed. So my name's Hannah. I've been working at Active Countermeasures since about October of last year, and I do research and testing of our product and write most of the malware of the day blog posts now. I'm also a graduate student in computer systems and networks at the University of Utah. And before we start, I just wanted to say a super big thank you to Keith, Shelby, Bill Casey, and everyone else helping out behind the scenes, making sure I don't mess up too bad. So fun fact, this is the only presentation I've ever given longer than 10 minutes. I hope you all enjoy. So as promised, we're going to talk about packet captures and why you got to catch them all. Why would we want to talk about packet captures? Packet captures are great because everything that goes over the internet in some form of packet. And if you learn how to threat hunt using packets, you can threat hunt any platform. It doesn't matter if your endpoints are running Windows, Mac, Linux, all packets follow the same format. And if you know how to look at them on one platform, you know how to look at them at pretty much any platform. So if you capture all of your packets, you have full packet captures. You can see literally everything that's going on your network. And that also tells you what's not going on your network. Because if you see everything that's there, then automatically you know it's not there. And later we're going to see how that can be just as useful. So what are packets? Packets ultimately are nothing but a stream of binary data. They're a bunch of ones and zeros going from point A to point B, obviously stopping at a bunch of routers and hops in the middle. So the format of these packets tells the computer what you're looking at. So most important is the payload, obviously. That's the data that you're requesting from a server, sending to a server. And then that is encapsulated by the header information. And the header information is used to route packets. So it tells the computers how to get that payload data wherever you want it to go. All right, so what do they look like? As your packet travels down through the layers of the OSI model, just different layers of header data are prepended to the packet and then ultimately gets put in an Ethernet frame, which has the Ethernet header and a little checksum at the end. And then that gets sent over the physical device. So you can kind of think of looking at the layers of a packet, like looking at the layers of an onion, you just keep peeling them back. We have these awesome things called packets. Now, how do we capture them? Packets are captured by software called network sniffers. A network sniffer is pretty much any piece of software that intercepts a packet going over the wire, and it makes a copy of them before letting them pass through. Obviously, this is super beneficial for threat hunting, but packet captures can also be used for identifying actual or potential performance problems, as well as doing network inventory. For example, we have programs such as Passer or Nmap that can use the information from packets to discover what devices are sending them, and in some cases help you discover devices on your network that you might have not even known were there. So what if we have servers on the cloud? Using cloud environments is like a super popular thing these days, and it's only becoming more and more common. So in some cases, we can actually do packet captures from the cloud as well. Bill and Chris did an awesome webcast on that. The link is in the slide deck, so I encourage you to download the slides and go look at that. Essentially what you do is you use VXLAN tunnels to send data from all of your servers to what's kind of like a virtual router that gathers them all into one, so you can do your analysis from there or copy the PCAPs over to a local machine, etc. So packet sniffing tools, there's like thousands of them out there. These are just 4. TCP dump is super lightweight, really good command line packet capture tool. Obviously, we have Wireshark and T-Shark. T-Shark is just the command line version of Wireshark. Those two make packet analysis a little bit easier than TCP dump is. And then we have Passer. That's our tool written by Bill. And what Passer does is looks at all of those packets, and it can tell you if there's packets that it thinks is suspicious based on whether it's header information, the size, using weird combinations of ports and stuff like that. Network Miner is a network forensics tool, and it's really good for looking at files that have been sent and dissecting packets in a little bit more of a graphic way than Wireshark does. So where do we capture packets from? We can capture them from pretty much anywhere. In the slide, I like to think about comparing like the different networking interfaces to when you're playing a Pokemon game and like different areas of the grass have different Pokemon in them. So the photo on the right is just what you would see if you open Wireshark on one of your endpoints, a local home computer or whatever it be. And as you can see, there's like a bunch of different interfaces that it's showing you. So all of these show you different network data, some of which are more helpful than others. So for example, the loopback interface is usually very unhelpful for capturing packets. The loopback interface is used for identifying the device because it never changes. Whereas if you're looking at the Wi-Fi or the Ethernet, that's less reliable for determining if a device is online because networking cards can be removed, the IP addresses can change, etc. The interfaces that are always going to be most useful are like the wireless and Ethernet. And this is because that's where almost all of our north-south traffic is going. North-south traffic, that's traffic that's going from an internal system to a server out on the internet that's not in the local network, versus east-west traffic, which would be from points within the internal network. East-west traffic is usually less useful Not because the useful packets are less useful, but there's just a lot of noise, a lot of broadcast packets and et cetera that are just going to give you more data than you could possibly sort through efficiently. So these are the interfaces if you're monitoring a singular system or endpoint. However, if you have a larger company or enterprise environment, you're probably going to want to use something like a span port. So a span port is a piece of software that stands for switch port analyzer that makes copies of selected packets before letting them go out through a firewall. And you can use it to monitor specific protocols, traffic going to a specific port, or the entire VLAN. It's entirely up to you and what data you're looking for. So different kinds of packet captures. So a full capture is kind of what we've been looking at so far. It's capturing a copy of every single packet and capturing the entire packet. Whereas metadata captures are from when like programs look at packets and then they strip out the header data or just select pieces of information and write all those to log files and stuff like that. Full captures obviously provide much richer information about the network activity because you can see all of the header information, timestamps, and the payload. Obviously, if you're using HTTPS or an encrypted protocol, you're not going to be able to do payload analysis efficiently, but there's still a lot of plain text protocols being used out there, HTTP, DNS, etc. And as long as you have the full packets, you can look at those. If you want to learn more about how to specifically look at the fields of an individual packet, Chris is teaching a class on that with the link in this slide deck. I just looked through the slides. It looks super awesome, and I'm definitely going to be there, so I hope to see y'all there as well. The problem with full packet captures. So earlier we were saying packets are great because they produce like a crap ton of data. However, the problem with full packet captures to be useful for threat hunting is the same thing, that they produce a crap ton of data. So what you're seeing here is a packet capture from me logging into a server using SSH. Just logging in and that's it. So less than 2 seconds of activity to one server, you can see displayed 44 packets. If you filter your traffic with Wireshark and then you look on the bottom right corner, it will show you how many packets are displayed under the given filters, and then also what percentage of the total packets captured that is. So that's a lot of packets. And then next I logged into Amazon. It's another 51 packets. And I guess to be fair, I forgot my password and I had to log in like 3 times. But still what you can see is packets provide a lot of data when most of it is actual legitimate traffic. That provides a lot to try to look through to find the less legitimate traffic. So a wild Zeek log appeared. Zeek logs are a form of metadata capture. Zeek does not capture entire packets. It strips out useful information and writes it to individual logs. This saves time and space, as well as reducing the load on capturing systems, and provides a really good high-level overview of activity. We really like Zeek because although it is just a metadata capture tool, it does give you a lot. It shows you log of all your connections, DNS requests. There's even a log for files if you want to see what files have been seen going over the network that Zeek can extract. So that's really cool. And then we also have like NetFlow and IPFix. A lot of times you want all of your packet data, but you don't just have the storage space for it. So like an idea there is to maybe have 2 years worth of NetFlow logs and then just keep maybe the last 2 weeks of full packet captures in case there is an incident, et cetera. All right, so we're capturing all these packets. We're gonna look at what malicious traffic might look like and what a hacked packet might look like. Indicators of malicious traffic are pretty much anything that does not follow normal traffic patterns. For example, a user on their computer will usually send data to a website or a server of some sort because they want information back. So if you see that a client is sending a bunch of data and getting very little back, until that's probably an automated program or something that's doing something it shouldn't be. Also, packets themselves can be formatted in a strange way. If you see packets that aren't a standard size, like maybe a ping packet that's like 900 bytes, that's probably not a normal ping. You can see weird ports, strange combinations of header flags. All of these are probably, they might be normal, but they're definitely something you should look into. So one fun thing, I guess not so fun thing that attackers can do is source IP spoofing. You can think of this like sending mail with the wrong return address. So if you walk out to your mailbox and you see there's a letter and the return address says like, I don't know, somewhere in Vancouver, Canada, that letter could be from your neighbor down the street, but you have no way of knowing that. So you would just assume it came from somewhere in Vancouver, Canada. This can be used when someone wants to hide their source IP if they're doing something strange or launching DOS or DDoS attacks. DOS attacks are essentially when you flood a server with so much traffic that it gets overwhelmed and then therefore becomes unable to handle all of the legitimate requests. Spoofing source IPs is another way to kind of amplify these attacks. For example, if you send off packets to a broadcast address with a source IP of one internal system on the network, what you're going to do is make all of the other machines that get that packet respond back to the singular system, generating way more traffic than it normally would on its own. Invalid flag combinations. An attacker can try to combine different combinations of TCP flags or change other aspects of the packet in order to try to get through firewalls. A firewall, when it sees something that it doesn't understand, depending on the rules you have set up, it might say, I don't know what that is, I'm going to block it, which is good. Or it might say, I've never seen this before, maybe it's fine, I'll let it through, which is bad. So by editing packets in ways that firewalls are unfamiliar with, attackers will try to sneak through your defenses or launch attacks. Protocol tunneling. Protocol tunneling is one of my favorite subjects. That's just putting data where you wouldn't normally find it. It can be used for masking C2 communications. That link goes to my blog post on DNSCat2, which is a DNS tunnel. It prepends commands to a fully qualified domain such that they look like a subdomain and thus will be interpreted by the DNS servers as a subdomain versus a command. And then once that traffic gets to the command and control server, the program that catches those DNS requests knows how to extract that and interpret the command as the command that it is. This can also be used for bypassing Wi-Fi paywalls. For example, if you have a DNS tunnel or something set up to a server out on the internet, it's very likely that DNS requests will be allowed out even when like regular HTTP or HTTPS traffic is not. So then what you can do is put your HTTP/HTTPS traffic in the DNS query that goes off to your server, which is outside of the free airport Wi-Fi or whatever out on the internet. And that can relay your traffic without a problem. So lots of fun stuff. All right, so say we have a bunch of packets and then we want to analyze them and find threats. One thing that's really important is finding the right tool for the job. I strongly advise against starting your threat hunt with Wireshark or something similar, because that shows you all of the packets kind of laid out one by one, extremely detailed. But if you don't know what you're looking for, that data isn't necessarily very meaningful. You can spend hours just going through it and not finding a lot. So what's important is when you're threat hunting to find a program that gives you an adequate layer of abstraction that maybe shows you connections at the connection level where you can see kind of the 50,000 foot view of what's happening on your network and then trace down different connections that look suspicious from there. So our favorite open source tools are like Zeek and Rita for looking at the high level data, for seeing this IPX connected to IP or domain Y and sent 50 megabytes of data or something and made 32,000 connections. Passer is good for finding spoofed or malicious traffic because it checks each packet that it intercepts for, like I said, weird header flag combinations, spoofed IPs, looks for if the source and destination port are the same, etc. And then once you think you found something weird or malicious and you want to go inspect the packets further, that's when we recommend using like Wireshark or T-Shark for kind of going in and seeing if you can get anything from the payloads. So earlier we talked about how packets give you all the data and then how we can look for what's there, and we can also look for what isn't there. So this screenshot is taken from using Rita. So you can see it gives you the connection level view of our network data. So we have a source IP, a fully qualified domain, the number of connections, and then details about the connections as well as the data size that they're seeing go over the wire. So the first command we ran is show exploded DNS. What this shows is all of the DNS queries being sent out. So we can see the first result is for a domain called ciscoupdate.com. That could be legit, but it looks like there's a lot of queries here. So we might want to investigate that further. Microsoft, that's about what we would expect. And everything else has significantly less connections. Say you have a domain like ciscoupdate.com. How do we know that traffic going there is malicious and that it's not a time server or something? So one way is we can see, okay, usually if a client requests a domain, it's because they want data from that domain. So then if we run the command show beacons by a fully qualified domain, you would think we would see some connections, maybe not with a high beacon score, but they would be there going to ciscoupdate.com. And here we don't. So that's something that shows us that what the amount of DNS requests going there is definitely malicious. And then earlier we mentioned the amount of traffic outbound versus inbound being an indicator of compromise. So this screenshot is taken from our proprietary tool, AC Hunter, but there's multiple tools that can do this. And here again, we're looking for the data that isn't there. So we see this connection between 10.0 to 0.65 and the server out on the internet. We see the outbound bytes is around 36 megs, and that's not a lot. That on its own doesn't necessarily tell us that there's something wrong. If it were gigabytes, then that would obviously be worth looking at. But here, what's more helpful is not the outbound bytes themselves, but the ratio of inbound to outbound bytes. So because it's like 36 versus 2, that tells us that this is probably something worth looking into, that this isn't human activity. All right, so finding suspicious packets with Passer. Passer is completely free. It's written by Bill, and therefore it's super awesome by default. So it runs on Mac and Linux, and I'm not sure about Windows, and it can be used to capture directly from an interface or read from a PCAP file, and that's done with the -R command here. So it reads in the PCAP file, and then to kind of parse that data, we could type it into something like grep. So the -S flag, that writes all packets from an IP that Passer flags as suspicious to a separate PCAP file. So you can separate those out from all of your normal looking traffic. And then if we want to see why Passer thinks those are suspicious, we can do the same thing. We can read in the suspicious.pcap, the file we wrote all of our suspicious looking traffic to, and use grep for the word suspicious to see the lines that display why Passer thinks it's funky. All right, so say we did that and we found some traffic Passer thought was suspicious because it's sending out a bunch of ICMP requests with no response. That's when I would go into Wireshark and look at those payloads to see what's going on. And from the top portion, you just see the header. They look kind of like normal pings. Then if you look at the size, you can tell that there's definitely something wrong. So we click on one of the packets. We look at the payload. Wireshark shows you on the left, it's the hex, and then on the right, just the plain text payload. And here we can see that there is a poem of some sort. Normally, you do not find poems in your pings. So while in this case, it's harmless, this is an example of how an attacker could tunnel traffic via ICMP requests and how you can see that in something like Wireshark. So if we have full packet captures, one thing we can do is reconstruct files. So if data gets broken down into packets to be sent over a plain text protocol, and we have those packets, then we still have that file. Zeek actually also tracks this, even though it doesn't have the full PCAPs. It writes all of those files to logs, and they can be reconstructed following the instructions in the Zeek docs that I've linked to. Now, this isn't possible if, again, the files are transferred over an encrypted protocol, unless you have a way of decrypting it. So for network forensics and looking at reconstructing files or images, a program that I found extremely useful is Network Miner. It's not open source, but there is a free version that can do a lot of the same things. So it'll show you all of the hosts, files, and then what I found fun here was images. So all of these images came from just navigating to an HTTP site and browsing around. They weren't downloaded. It was just everything the page has to load for you to be able to see it will appear in that packet capture. I actually found this because I was looking for the link to the T-Shark website, and apparently T-Shark is http.tshark.com or something is a website for tracking tagged sea animals. So that's how we got here. So yeah, Network Miner is a really fun tool I found to just play around with. Especially if you have packets that you can look at. And I'm happy to release the PCAP that these came from if anyone wants it. One more point I want to make is to be careful sharing your packet captures. So all of the data you've seen that we can extract from them, anyone who intercepts those packets or who gets a hold of a packet capture can also look at. So there's tons of tools to edit your packet captures. One we like is BitTwist. What BitTwist will do is go through and you can change source or destination IPs as well as all of the other fields, and then it will regenerate the Ethernet frames. So if you just Google how to change an IP address, a lot of the things that will come up will show editing the text files, and that will change the IP address. But it's really easy to tell that that was done because then the checksums and stuff will no longer match up. So if you regenerate the packets with something like BitTwist, that's a lot better. If you've done our CTF on AC Hunter, a couple of those databases, we use that to change some of the IP addresses. So it wasn't so easy to figure things out. EditCap is another really good tool that anyone should know about. It's great for editing timestamps, stretching captured files, or cutting out just the packets you care about. Because like if you want to send a packet capture to your friend over another company to look at, but you don't want any of the traffic except going to one IP, you can easily just cut out all of the other traffic and just send the packets between the two hosts. So the last thing I have for you guys is a little demo on sending funky pings. So how easy it is to just send random ass data in your packets. So the link goes to a little Python script that you can just run. You might have to run it with sudo privileges, I don't know. And you put in a message and it will send that in a ping packet. If you leave the IP address the way it is in there, it will send pings to one of my test servers, and I'll pull that up and you can see your packets going through. All right, so that is all of the content I have for you guys today. You can take questions and stuff now. Thanks for listening. And I don't know how to end a webcast. I've never done one before.
That's fine. That was great, Hannah. Thank you.
I'm going to stop showing my screen.
But did you want to show some of the responses that you're getting?
Yes, I'm going to pull that up now.
Okay, cool.
As soon as my terminal unfreezes, you know?
And I must say, you did a great job just explaining everything you went through. I think you did so well. There were no questions.
I saw a few, but I couldn't concentrate on the Discord and on speaking at the same time.
Well, at least the questions that I saw were more just people having preferences for platforms as far as I saw. Anybody else have any questions that they saw? I guess not. It's just me and you.
I was trying to look and I don't see any questions, and there aren't any that I can remember off the top of my head either. So I think we're all good.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I saw too. Yeah, so I'm kind of interested to see who's running this little Python script here to see what happens.
Yeah, if you do, the byte array containing your IP address, I think will show up, just fair warning. So yeah, it looks kind of like that. Mhm.
And I am
I saw
seeing.
Nibble wrote that, did you find out if penguins have teeth? So that's what this whole thing was about, right?
Jeez. Hannah, you got a number of comments on GoToMeeting. Great job, Hannah. You did a great job for your first webcast. Not a question, but that was ace. Thank you. Congratulations, Hannah. You did a good job. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Good presentation. Agreed. Tell Hannah she did a great job presenting. Not a skill set most people have, and that's absolutely true.
Yep.
You did a nice
Don't
job.
have to lie. That was pretty okay.
That was awesome.
There was
I'm going
also-
to agree to disagree.
There was
It
also
was
a lot
awesome,
of.
Hannah. It was
yeah.
awesome. I'm a
There was a
non-tech person, and I learned.
There was
Good.
a lot of comments from people about them loving the Pokemon theme of your slide deck too. That was really cool.
Yeah.
There is one question I am seeing here that also got bumped, so I want to make sure it gets answered. It is, what are some of the best packets for setting up span ports / packet captures at enterprise scale?
What are the best packets for setting that up?
Pat, I think they may be asking, what do we do at the enterprise just to get a span port that can handle 10 gigabit, 40 gigabit, 100 gigabit? Do you want to grab that, or can I give it just a vague try? I'm not sure there's a really good answer. I don't deal with that on a daily basis. I would start off with F5 and see what they have for. I know they've got some good units for splitting up a packet stream into multiple streams that can head off to multiple sensors. So if you're trying to watch, say, a 40 gigabit link and your capture devices will only handle 10, you can get 4 of them and have the F5 break them off. I would start there and see if they have some recommendations. F5, I think, is a company.
Kick them on. Kick them on.
I hear a disembodied voice. Yes, Chris says, Gigamon, absolutely. They have some NICs that are just amazing in terms of how fast they'll capture packets.
Awesome.
Also, whoever is 54.74 to 88.216, you're very welcome.
And I'm going to merge these two questions together. So are there any recommendations for hands-on learning or sources for good PCAPs to analyze for practice?
Good PCAPs to analyze. So good sources of learning, I would say just start capturing packets and looking at them, and then maybe generating your own packets. For good packet captures to analyze, I would say the ones that I know about, shameless plug for our own content here, is the Malware of the Day posts. Those are on our website, and at the end of each post, we have the packet captures that we showed the analysis for, so you can go through and use your own tools to look at those.
Well done, absolutely. So you can see if your threat hunting tool will capture this particular type of malware.
Yes.
If I may, Hannah, a little higher, I put a link for netresec.com, and they have links to both their own PCAPs and other people's PCAPs. A whole range of stuff. If you want to play with PCAPs, you can download hundreds of them.
Oh God, what are people sending?
Yeah, I would just like to add, however, is just be careful of the source of PCAPs. It can be a bit risky just Googling, oh, free PCAPs. So just keep in mind where they're coming from.
Yeah,
And
packet captures are harmless as long as it is a packet capture that you're downloading.
Exactly, and that's what I'm
always
getting
gotta make sure of that.
at. Yeah, if it's a true PCAP file, yes, it's safe, but.
as
Well,
long as that's
so
what it is.
sort of. Go back in my history far enough, and I actually found a couple of ways to to generate traffic that when Snort tried to read that packet into memory, I could actually execute commands on that system as root.
Ooh.
So
Alrighty.
the PCAP, yeah, that's benign, but the tool you're using to read that PCAP may have a vulnerability, and someone might be bored like me. So
Good to know. Someone else is asking, are all the tools that you mentioned, Hannah, in the slide deck? I believe the answer to that is yes, correct?
Yes. If I
Awesome.
left one out, y'all can fire me.
Awesome. And Nibbles was asking, did we ever find out if penguins have teeth or not? So if you weren't here for the pre-show, someone had asked if penguins have teeth, and we found out no, they do not have teeth. However, they do have a what's called a fleshy spine type of lining inside of their mouths to help cut up their food. So no teeth, but something even weirder than that.
Yeah.
things you learn on an ACM webcast.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the fleshy spine lining.
And if anybody is still asking where the slide deck is, you can find it in the ACM webcast content channel, which is directly below the chat channel that we're talking in right now.
And it looks like you're getting some decent responses there, Hannah. Huh?
Oh, I'm not looking at the Discord.
No, on your server receiving the pings, the packets.
Oh yeah, people are sending like whole other packets and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's
I'm just
cool.
waiting for the server to go down. We should give a prize for whoever takes it offline.
Well, yeah.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I would retract that statement.
Boom. There we go.
Unless it's, your own personal server sitting behind you plugged into the wall. I mean, that's fine. You can blow up your own stuff.
All right, I'm looking to see if we have any more questions. Someone is saying, what are the best packet capture tools for an enterprise?
I
Zeek.
would say Zeek if you have a lot of data, because that's keeping most of the data that will ever be useful to you. When, like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 20% of the space that a full packet capture would take up.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And JSN is asking, what's all the stuff in front of the message in the ping on your server?
So what you're looking at is the byte array of the packet header data. Byte array, I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, just Python's way of displaying it. Yeah, that's exactly what you're seeing.
And someone else is saying ACM better hire her full time before she gets snagged up. Agreed.
The comments on GoToMeeting, we want more. Agreed. Lots of great feedback, Hannah. This is a crowd that really loves you. Yep.
I did an
Hannah-
okay job presenting, but I really want to do a webcast about ICMP protocol so that we can call it Lord of the Pings.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're totally on board with that.
Right.
So,
Here's
The
a
second
question for
installment is
Chris.
the twin routers.
Hannah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just said the second installment is the twin routers.
Well
that's
done.
JSN was asking, does Hannah keep her job if we take down her server?
No,
seriously, Hannah, that was excellent. Very, very good job. In fact, at least to me, if you wouldn't have said it was the first time you did it, I don't think anybody would have known that. So very good job. And I'd like to add also that even when this webcast is over, on Discord, there's plenty of channels in there for threat hunting community, like packet sniffing tools. So of course, this conversation can just continue.
Yes. Yeah. Please hang out on our Discord server, the Threat Hunter community. Check out all of the channels that we have. Like Keith was saying, we have a ton of different channels. Lots of channels for open source tools, channels around the different types of threat hunting there are. And we also make an announcement every time we have a new webcast coming. That way you'll be one of the first to know and able to register for it.
Hannah, I got to tell you, AR has the right idea for your next presentation. You need to do it on a Tolkien ring network.
Oh, Oh, yes.
That's perfect.
Oh, nice. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, I can see this whole concept going deep.
Helms deep. Yes.
Oh,
Well,
Awesome.
thank you, all 500 plus of you, for being here. Means a lot to me.
Yeah.
That's a pretty damn good start.
yes. Yes, amazing.
I do want to remind everyone again, if you are new to threat hunting, please check out our website. We have an educational tab, tons of different resources, blogs, videos that you can watch to help get you started. If you are interested in our commercial tool, AC Hunter, you can type demo inside of the GoToWebinar chat, and we will reach out to you shortly to schedule a personal demo of our product. And for anybody who's asking, the website you can visit to find all our educational stuff is acm.re. And with that, thank you again, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you, Hannah. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.